you work for the Catholic Church and want to avoid burnout, overcome parish dysfunctions, and put more souls in the pews, we're here to help. I'm Ty Hua, here with my co-host John Cons, and this is the Catholic Ministry Professionals Podcast, your favorite leadership development for Catholic podcast for Catholic churches. Each week, you can expect engaging discussions, expert interviews, and actionable advice to help you move Jesus' mission forward in your parish. Today, we're going to fix fall festivals. John, this is your favorite. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. This is one of my favorite topics. And I think a lot of our Catholic ministry professionals wish their fall festivals could be utilized just to bear more fruit, but they maybe don't know practically how to do that. And so this episode is for you if you're like me, where you show up and you go, this is a good event, but it's missing maybe this one element. And we know that the church, like the call for the church, it's to evangelize, it's to make disciples. And yet most of our fall festivals, I'd say most of our parish dinners and events, they don't evangelize at all. That's not built into them. And so like our parish fall festival, when I went to that this fall at our church, I came and I thought, this is a really good event. I actually thought that. I was like, we've got great games for the kids. There's good food. It's not overly structured. It's just like show up and have some fun. But as I was there, I saw a family that I didn't recognize, and I thought, well, I'm going to go talk to them. And I go to Mass every weekend, and we bounce around, so we see most of the families. But I thought I'd say hi and just talk to them a little bit. But I thought there's nothing here to help capture them, to help bring them in the fold, if they are in fact new. And of course, it could just be that I've never met them before. But either way, I just thought there's just nothing here to capture new people. Plus the fact that we had this great event, and it wasn't. I mean, there was maybe over 100 people that attended throughout the event, but that's not like gangbusters crazy because we get hundreds of people to Mass every weekend. So there's just more people that could have showed up and even more people that are outside of our parish community that could have been invited into this great event. It would have been a really cool one to begin a relationship with people who have maybe not been connected to the parish before. And so I just found myself going, there's something more here. And so throughout this episode, we're going to talk about the one conversation that I would want to have with our parish staff, maybe our committee leaders who organize the festival, the one conversation I'd want to have with them, and then 4 practical things that can be done to make the event more practical, more evangelical in the course of the event. So how does that sound for you, Ty?
It sounds great. I will say one thing to the listener that is rolling their eyes like, oh, our fall festival is great. We don't need to do anything. And you're about to change the channel. Do not just listen. You may pick up a little nugget. And if it's great, perfect. We'd love to hear from you. Like, how do you have your fall festivals just brimming with excitement and having more and more people show up to it? We'd love to hear from you. But for the vast majority of our listeners, you know what we're talking about. So do not change the channel. Just listen. Maybe you can help us out. Maybe we can help you out. So just hang tight.
Absolutely. So let's talk about building a better fall festival. And it may be too late for this year's fall festival, and I understand that. We're kind of getting on the other side of harvest. You've probably already had your get-together for the fall, but it's not too late for next year's. And I think now is the time, while it's fresh in your minds, to start having those conversations. And so the main question, I think this is the one conversation that we can have with any of our committee leaders, any of our event planners that help out with events at the staff or with the staff and with the parish, is to simply ask them the question, hey, what is the goal for this event? What's the goal? And of course, we know, like we said, the goal is always, and everything like this, there should be this underlying goal of evangelization, the mission of the church to make disciples. That should be the common theme through everything we do, that there is an effort to bring people into deeper relationship with Jesus Christ. So again, if you're meeting with these festival committee members, these planning leaders, to ask them, what is the goal of this event? Are we just doing this because we did it last year and the committee says it's time to do it again? For us as a staff, that's really attractive because it's an easy event, right? You can just put it right back on the calendar. You can count on the same people. They're happy to run it. Awesome. It feels easy. It's super great. The problem is there maybe is something else that it should be, right? Now, are we just, maybe the goal has always been, well, let's just do a fun event and try to get people to show up outside of Mass time. that is a good goal. That's not a bad thing to just try and get people together for fellowship. But again, what should it be? Should it be more than just an opportunity to show up together and enjoy one another outside of Mass? And a lot of times, if that's what it is, you're getting the people who already show up to everything anyways. And then the other thing that a lot of times it is it just a fundraiser? Is this just how we make extra money? Great, not a bad goal. But what should it be? Could it be better? Could it be more than just that? Can it fulfill those goals, but also do the added service of helping to evangelize, of bringing people into the community, of sharing with them the gospel news of Jesus Christ, right? So that's the conversation you want to have with these ministry heads, not like just what should it be, or not just what is it, what's the goal here, but what should it be? And it's an opportunity to bring the community together so that we can invite people to be a part of this family, to be a part of this parish, to get deeper in their relationship with Jesus Christ, to really imbue it with this evangelical impulse, so that they can grow deeper with Jesus, so that they can connect with, so those who are initiated can really connect with those who are not initiated. So that's the conversation, and I think you could bear a lot of fruit. I think there could be a lot of good just coming out of that conversation with your volunteers, with those people who are in charge of those ministries, to say, hey, what's the goal? What should it be? And to be able to build that evangelical impulse. And so I want to go into 4 practical things that you can do to begin to build that into that evangelical impulse into these fall festivals. And the first of those is simply to invite people. Like I said, I was at my fall festival and I thought, this is a great event. Why aren't more people here? Right? So to be really intentional about the way that you invite people. And these are my 3 things under this, like bracketed under inviting people that you could do. One of those is to do an email, like a mailing campaign. You can actually pay the post office to deliver a postcard to every house, like in this blank area. Like you can just do a blanket mailing out to that area. If you've got a small enough town, you could hit up all of the families in that town with an invitation. You can do that 1, 2, 3 times depending on what the budget works for. But this is not overly expensive. It's the price of a stamp for each household that you're sending it to, and so that's not crazy expensive. It's not gangbusters. I think that's one way to do it. The other, call people, like just 10 people a week. Leading up to this fall festival for 5, 10 weeks, whatever it is, just call 10 people a week. Say, we announced this in Mass. It's been in our bulletin, but I just want you to know we'd really love to have you at our fall festival. These are the things we've got going on, because people hear fall festival and a lot of times their brain just goes numb because they're like, oh yeah, I know what the fall festival is. But maybe you brought in a new bouncy house this year, or maybe you've got we did a minnow racing, which was a ton of fun for the kids. Yeah, you got 2 minnows and you got 2 tracks. And they just take a little, like a straw, and you just kind of blow behind the fish to get them moving, and you race them down and back. The kids loved it. I mean, there was always a line at that station. So if you've got something fun, you say, hey, we've got this minnow racing. We think your kids would really love it, so we want you to come out. A simple call like that might go a long way for parishioners to get them to come out. The other thing that I think can be really powerful is to come up with like a ticket or a little postcard that really is something that you're going to give to every parishioner. And you're going to say, hey, every parishioner, we're going to charge you to invite a friend. Now, you're not obligated to make sure they come, but to say, hey, I've got this postcard. This is my easy, we've all got that friend that we know needs to come to the thing, right? We've all got that friend that we want to bring that relationship with Jesus more into the fold of our friendship that exists. This is a great, low barrier way. Hey, we've got this fall festival. Our kids go; they love it every year. I want to give you this. Mark your calendar. I'd love for you to come to this fall festival with me. And that is going to give you the most bang for your buck when it comes to getting parishioners to show up, getting potentially new parishioners or disconnected parishioners to start showing up to events, to say, hey, those of you that are here this weekend, grab one of these cards. We want to charge you with this task of inviting one of your friends to come to this event. To really try to bring them along, invite them, tell them how fun it's going to be, and say, hey, we're going to save you a seat here. We want to eat lunch with you. We want to eat dinner with you. We're going to sit right next to you, and then we're going to have our kids just play a bunch of games. It's going to be a blast. And that's one of your biggest ways, or one of the most powerful ways that you can get people to show up to an event, is with that word of mouth marketing, that word of mouth, that one-to-one invitation. So that's the first of your 4 practical things, is just to make, like, really nail this invitation to people down, not just in the broad communication at the end of Mass with your regular announcements, not just in the bulletin, but finding ways to personally invite people through a calling campaign, a blanket mailing, and then personal invitations from your parishioners, getting them to be a part of that process with you. The second really practical thing I think you can do, and this is kind of like foresight, this is the long game, is to hire a photographer or a videographer to come to the event. Now, it's going to be really fun for you to kind of point out moments to them. It's going to make you take this a little more seriously, like, oh, we need to bring people because we're going to take pictures at this event, and we've paid somebody to show up. Now, maybe you have a parishioner that does have a camera and they've got some experience, and you might hire them to just show up with their family and take pictures, or maybe they'll do it for free. But to bring somebody who knows how to capture moments along, because what's going to happen is the next year when you have this event, you will now have like tangible proof. Like if you're going to do a great event, you want to show people, hey, this was great. You want to capture a lot of smiling faces, capture all those moments of people laughing at the tables while they eat their food, capture the fact that the parish hall is filled up with people. Really show that your parish is alive. You're really showing people this is what's going on here at our parish, in our community. It's alive, it's active, it's dynamic. And so then you can put that on your blanket mailings, and that'll be a lot more attractive than just text on a page. If you've got pictures of people smiling, having a blast at this event, that is going to be way more attractive on a blanket campaign, or even on those little invitation cards that you would send out with your parishioners. If people can see, oh, wow, this looks like a lot of fun. Yeah, I do want to go now. And that's just a really simple one. And you don't have to do any more work other than hiring that person and having them show up that day. And then, yeah, they'll share the pictures with you. They should edit them. They should clean them up, make them look nice. And you've got then this packaged, like, promotional materials that you can use to communicate for the next year. And you can even use them on your website. You can use them in any of the emails you send out as a parish, just as reminders like, hey, it makes our parish look a little more active and alive. And that can be really valuable as far as building up anticipation for this awesome event that you put on every year and inspiring people to participate. The third really practical thing is having a call to action. All right, this is kind of harken back to one of our previous episodes. We talked about having a better bulletin, and I talked about having a connect card in your bulletin, right? Having some way for people to say, hey, this is who I am in relation to you as a parish. This is my information, and this is how I would like you to follow up with me. Because when you do that, this is something that honestly I thought would be really valuable at any parish event, but particularly with this fall festival. If you've done a great job of inviting, especially people who are not already connected to your parish, this is something you want to have, is somebody at the entrance to this event, somewhere along the line. If you're feeding them, they're at the beginning of the line, they're saying, hey, fill this card out. You know, we're so happy you're here. Fill this card out and drop it in the basket at the end of the line. And then they move on with their day, and that's all you have to do. What that's done is it's given you opportunity to find out, are they new to the parish? Are they somebody that's going to need a sacrament soon? Are they somebody that's never been involved with any church ever, and this is their first time visiting? But then they're also going to say, hey, I'd love to hear back from you about Bible studies, or I'd love to hear back from you about questions I have on the church, or I have this personal issue, and I'd like to touch base with somebody, or just, hey, I'm just kind of dipping my toe in, and I'd like to know about other events as they come up. And that gives you then your next step with that parishioner, which leads us into the fourth practical thing that you can do, which is to follow up with the people who show up. Especially if they're saying, you know, hey, I want you to follow up, you need to follow up. Like if you do that part, you are showing, hey, this is more than just us checking things off the list. This is more than just us saying, we're just trying to tally up and grow our numbers on paper. No, we're trying to cultivate a relationship with you. And we believe the deepest value, the deepest part of that relationship is if we can bring Christ into it. But something that's known in Ty, you can speak more into this, but it might take 12 to 15 communications, 12 to 15 touches between people before they would make a commitment. And so if you don't have any way to follow up or any way to kind of dial them in, so you can send them an email with another call to action or an invitation to another event, or you don't have their phone number, so you can't call them and say, hey, it was so great to have you at this event. I didn't get a chance to talk to you, but we're so excited to have you be a part of this. And so you need those moments of connection to build a relationship.
Yeah, I don't want to make it too transactional or salesy, but you're spot on. You need consistent communication with anybody, whether that you try not talking to your wife or your husband for a month and see how that goes when you ask them or you invite them to do something. You're probably going to get a cold shoulder, and you're probably not on the road to blissful, marriage. So again, it goes back to, and we've talked about this before, build relationships, not based around a fall festival, not based around an event, but just have the heart for people, understand them, get to know them. And then when something happens, when you invite them, it's not such an awkward, like, oh, hey, the only reason I'm reaching out is because I actually want you to show up so that, this event doesn't turn out to be a dud. So focus more on those relationships, and then those events will turn out hopefully better, right? When you talk about having a plan, here's scripture for you for the day. Proverbs 21:5. The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. So if you're waiting to the last minute to call people, invite them to this fall festival, or you're expecting Father to announce in the, at the end of Mass, like, hey, we've got this fall festival in a week or 2 weeks or whatever, that's still not going to go over well. It really isn't. Do not make haste, because that leads to poverty. Plan out what you're going to do, but base it around relationships, right? We talked about having somebody call, 10 to 20 people every month or every other week or whatever. Get to know them, understand what they want, what they need, and the fruit will show.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to build a fall festival that bears more fruit, that opens up that opportunity for more fruit, you want to have that conversation ahead of time. Hey, what's our goal here? What should this be? What should this event lead to? And then you want to have those really practical takeaways, those really practical pieces, which is you need to intentionally invite people. You want to have a photographer so that you can show people, not just tell them, but show them how awesome this event is. You need to have a clear call to action where you are inviting them to take action, to connect with you in a specific way. And then you got to follow up on those connections. And those are the ways you're going to build that festival. And I think with that, we can move on to the devil's advocate.
Dun dun.
Got distracted by the clapping.
Oh, is it the clapping?
Yeah, did you hear it? Oh, you couldn't hear it?
I couldn't hear it. Hold on.
Dun dun.
Apologies.
You can't hear your special effects on your side?
I can't. Yeah, I got something turned off. I don't know.
All right.
John, this sounds like a lot more work, and the fall festival or whatever thing we do is already a ton of work. Why would I add more work to my plate?
I understand this feeling, and I would say yes, it is going to be more work, but it's work that will be fruitful. So many of our Catholic ministry professionals are frustrated because they're doing all of this work and they wonder where the fruit is. They pour themselves out for these events, and then 10 years down the road, they wonder why the youth that they walked through these programs aren't connected to the church anymore. They want to know where the fruit is. Well, the fruit is in the relationships, and these steps will help you to build stronger relationships between parishioners and the parish. It'll help you to build those stronger relationships. And I think too, the other service this does is it expects more out of your volunteers, right? It automatically raises the bar in a way where people are going to want to chase after that fruit, where your participants, your volunteers are going to become better co-workers in the vineyard of the Lord. And finally, we have to realize that this is important because Jesus expects fruit. We see that in the parable of the talents. We see that in John 15, right? The branches and the vine and the branches, that Jesus says bearing fruit is a key part of this. You know, he tells us again and again that good trees bear good fruit. So this is, yes, it's more work, but for the most part, it's front loaded. And once you've done that, it's just the maintenance of following up on these conversations of intentionally going out and connecting with people. And you're going to find that when you're connecting with people in your ministry, it's going to be more life-giving for you. And so I want to encourage you, don't be afraid that there's a little bit more work. Know that it's going to be tangible, fruitful, impactful work that will change lives.
Yeah, one thing I will say is if you look at when you do anything and you put in a lot of effort and a lot of work, so I understand the question or the premise of the question of like, it sounds a lot of work. The follow up to that thought or the thought to follow up on that statement is that I don't want to do this and have nothing to show for it because I'm going to get burnt out. Well, that's true. That's why you got to put in more work. That's why you got to elevate your standards and what you're expecting from what you're doing, or else it's going to fall apart. It'll be, oh man, I got to do this thing again. It's that time of year again. And I got to trudge through this monotony of trying to put this fall festival together. You think of like a really good sports franchise and, Tom Brady and the New England Patriots back in the day. Like you just expected them to win, to be in the playoffs and be in serious contention for the Super Bowl. You remove Tom Brady and the standard from which you're expecting your team to play at. You have players now that don't really care. It's like, oh, we got to show up to a game. Yeah, do they want to win? Sure, it'd be nice to win. But they don't expect to go to the playoffs. They don't expect to go to the Super Bowl. So we have to put in the work that is going to be efficacious for the ministry. So if all you're doing is putting things where you think they should be and hoping everything turns out without following up, like we talk about, right, in that last step, without having a call to action, without doing the photography and showing how great this can be and getting the excitement going, then don't do it. Don't do a fall festival because you're better off not doing it. So if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well.
That'll preach. And of course, we never want to leave you without something practical that you can do today to help move the mission forward in your parish, to take action on the things we talked about. And so I want you to schedule a sit-down meeting with whoever it is that plans your fall festivals, whoever's in charge of that, both on the staff and then as volunteers that are responsible for carrying it out, and have that really important conversation with them about what is the goal of the fall festival, and then to discuss those practical ways that you can build a better event. And I think if you just sit down and have that conversation, you'll be surprised at how that ignites a little fire in them, where they're going to want to do these things that you're asking. They're going to want to see that vision that you paint come to fruition and become the reality for your parish. So schedule that sit down with whoever plans your events and just see what happens with starting that conversation. And with that, I want to thank you for listening to the Catholic Ministry Professionals podcast. A lot of Catholic professionals that we talk to are just trying to make it through the day, through the next Mass, or the next liturgical season. They wear so many hats, they work hard, and they're frustrated by fruit that goes unharvested. If you found this episode helpful, please give us a quick review and take a few seconds to text it to a priest or a friend in ministry that can benefit from it. On this podcast, on the Catholic Ministry Professionals podcast, we are committed to changing the culture of the church so the church can change our culture. So if you've been in Catholic ministry for a few years and you feel like your ministry efforts are being frustrated, send an email to catholicminpros@gmail.com. We believe that one saint working intentionally to build the kingdom can start a wild blaze of the Holy Spirit. So you can transform your parish through your work, even if you're not the one in charge. And we would love to talk with you about how our parish trainings and events can help you along the way.
And with that, we'll see you in the vineyard.